Hello, FewCandy here, and welcome back to our second episode of the River Delta City Build series. And it was pretty obvious after the first one that you wanted me to continue this, so let's turn it into a series. We still need a name for the city. Now, I'm recording this not long after the first episode actually aired, so keep those name suggestions coming. We'll do a community poll with some of my favourite suggestions to give it a name in the next episode. So plenty of time still to get your suggestion in. But yeah, the plan for today is to keep on expanding out our first little town. So I think longer term we are going to turn this into a county build. I think this map really lends itself to that quite nicely just because of all this lovely space up here around this river. I love it. So that's the kind of longer term plan for the series, but for now we want to continue fleshing out our first town down here. We've got things like a high school. We need to have more population ultimately in this area to make it kind of a feasible town to have some of these larger buildings in the middle of it. So to begin with, I am actually going to go ahead and remove all of these trees. So if you don't know, click this button, remove only matching type when you're in the brush tool. And then if we right click, we're going to remove absolutely all of these trees. Now I know that kind of goes against the game mechanics here, but like I said, I'm going for more of a aesthetically pleasing, realistic city build look. We are, of course, going to play with the simulation. Do not get me wrong. We're going to be playing the game. We're going to be trying to make money. We're going to be trying to balance production trains as best we can. But first and foremost, I definitely want it to have the vibe and the look of the city that I want. And for that, like I mentioned in the first episode, I want more spruces in. I want a few more of those evergreen trees in. So that's what we're going to start off with, is just getting rid of this forest here and putting in our own little forest brush. For this, I'm going to start off with spruces because I want that to be the primary tree in this little area. So we're going to literally cover it all. I want it to be quite dense forest up here, but we are going to build, of course, in and amongst it. And then we're going to dot in pines as well. Now, pines are really good once these trees have grown up for forest resource. They're the best tree for forest resource that you can get on the game. I think they go up to 3,000 wood in production, whereas a lot of the other ones only go up to 2,000. So they're really like such a good tree when it comes to adding forest industry. We'll have some of that in. I also do want some oaks as well because they turn lovely and brown in autumn. So you can see these like brown specks starting to come in and amongst our forest here. Definitely want some of that. We'll also dot in a few little alders to get some orange look as well. And yes, this is going to take time to grow up, and I know it's a massive waste of tree resource, but it's going to give us the desired look for this area that I want to achieve. And we have got a tornado over here. So yeah, I've just noticed that. It looks a little bit odd without any clouds on the map, I won't lie. But there we go, we've got our first tornado that I've noticed at least, because it was on the other side of the map. I just happened to turn the camera around and there it was. No warning or anything. So tons of trees have been spammed, and hopefully once those are all grown up it's going to look really nice. I'm liking how the forest brush is looking at the moment. When we come down here you can sort of see the vibe that we're going to get with little dots of orange sprinkled in, but mostly those evergreens, which yeah, I quite like. So let's go on and add in firstly buses, as we do need another development point actually to get to the point where we can unlock trains. So we'll come on to that in a minute, but firstly buses I do want to add in. And I'm going to just push this land back a little bit to increase the amount of space that we have got in this area here. And we're going to just put in a very small little kind of office, industry, commercial development to surround our bus depot, which is the first thing we're going to have to put in here. So we're going to start by adding a small little grid area in here, and I'm just going to block off the zoning from that road like that, and then we can add in a bit of a grid pattern here. And within this we have got a little bit of office demand already, so I'm going to just very carefully zone in a few little small office developments into this space. So I think we'll have one like that, and then a couple of even smaller buildings out the front here if we get the demand back. You can see even just one small building like this is going to diminish your demand quite substantially. So taking it slow is really, really super duper important for this. And then I quite like to add in a car parking lot behind these buildings here. So I think we'll have that there. And again, just using the same techniques really that we used in the first episode of bringing out roads around where our buildings are going to be, instead of kind of drawing out a major network and then filling it in, because it is much harder to get zones in exactly how you want like that, I do find. So we have got no more office demand here, so let's actually go ahead and press I on our keyboard to get rid of that horrendous white, add in a little bit of commercial around here as well. And then at the back here is where I would like to add the bus depot. So let's keep this grid flowing out this way for a moment. And then we'll go into our transport in our bus. The first thing we need to place is, yes, this big depot here, and we're pushing back. Oh, there we go. We have got to the next milestone, so we'll come on to that in a second. Definitely want to get trains with that. So yeah, you can see the landscape is really pushed up quite substantially from that. So let's actually just push this back a little bit to give ourselves a bit more room to smooth that out. I think what I will actually do is move this over just a little bit so that we can kind of add in a nice curve around the back of it here rather than having everything super duper square. So then when you come in off this road, you're kind of faced with the main depot area there and then more car parks around this side. So this is going to be quite an open area ultimately. And then here, let's go ahead and start adding in a bit more zoning. Now I'm wondering if we can get this road in a little bit more nicely onto this corner here. Yeah, so if we just bring it out straight like that, we get slightly better zones, and then we can just put a curve in to meet this other road here. So that's all nicely joined together. So we'll go ahead and I'll place in a slightly larger commercial unit here, I think. And then we'll wait a little bit and see if we get any more office demand back. But I'm thinking behind that, what might be quite nice is to then add in a very small amount of industry. Now having small bits of industry like this actually isn't too bad. Like you can have this relatively close to residential even, and the pollution isn't so bad. It isn't quite like what we had in Cities 1. So you can kind of just about get away with it. Kind of mix and match in a few different zoning types, then potentially fill the rest of this with commercial. We'll see if we get any more office demand, because it would be good to have another couple of offices I think up here too. But yeah, for the moment I'm going to leave the buses because I would like to run the stops ultimately from our train station down through our main town. So I think before we get stops in and get that all working, we are going to go ahead and place in the train station. But I'm just going to satisfy a little bit more of this residential demand before we go on to do that. So let's get in a road that's going to run up alongside our high school like this. And we're going to start actually adding in a low income housing development because that counts as high density, and we do have a little bit of high density demand now. And again, we're going to keep those zones super duper small. And let's actually dive into development points because I would really like to unlock the sports parks, which is what I was intending on doing. So let's go ahead and grab that. Let's of course get train because we know we want that too. We've already got college, so I'm actually thinking potentially the water treatment plant is the next, but because I'm not going to place it immediately, I'm going to save these 2 points for now, just in case there is anything else that we want in the meantime. But yeah, if we go into parks now, we will have the skate park, which is what I wanted to place in before. And I think having this next to some of this low income housing, these little tower blocks, and quite close to the high school as well, would be quite a nice place for it. And we can place it on this slightly curvy road here as well, and it still stays connected, which is a nice little thing to have. I'm actually going to break off the road here, and we're going to align this to this grid this side. So if we just bring it in like that, the roads really nicely just kind of snap together. Like it's a little bit bumpy there, but it does work. And then we can start getting in some of this low income housing. Now I want to keep these blocks really small. So I'm just going to place in one. You can see again, the demand is just absolutely dropping through the roof as soon as we place just one building. So we'll let that come in and we'll see how it does. We do have a tiny amount of office demand coming back. So I'm going to go ahead and add in another little office building here. Okay, so interestingly, we don't have a 3x3 office building. So let's actually just go for a 3x4 here, and we'll delete out that industrial, make that one a little bit smaller, and then see if we can put a little bit more office on this corner if that spawns in as well. So we've got a nice mix between commercial and offices going on up here, and that little bit of industry, although I definitely don't want the smokestacks. We'll see what else we get spawned in there. Okay, so this one building has satisfied all of that high density demand, so we'll come back to that in a minute. But yeah, let's now look at our train station and how we're going to do this. First thing that we do need to add in is actually this rail yard. So I'm actually thinking I'm going to put it out on these banks over here. Like we've actually got this kind of separated little track, which made me think, oh, maybe this would be a nice location for it. And if we just take a little look at raw resources as well, if we place it in these two squares, we can just miss this fertile land here. So we could have some nice farmyards out around the rail yard, a little bit of industry over here as we develop that out. So I think this is a good location. So let's go ahead and buy both of those tiles. Now this is a particularly large building, I won't lie. It's, yeah, pretty big. But what we're going to do is we're going to line up the main track that runs through it. So there is one double track with these existing rail lines. So we're going to have to try and kind of eyeball this a little bit. So we're going to get it in as best we can. Of course, this is going to massively flatten out the land too. So let's actually just go into contour lines. If we slope from here to here, and then if we take like this middle spot here, we could flatten out the land there, and then that's going to give us a kind of midpoint between those two sections, so we can get some nice even slopes on either side. Yeah, it looks like a mess. So we're going to slope these off nice and gently to meet the rail lines either side, and we will do that all the way along, just so we can get that in nice and smooth. So let's use a little bit of smoothing here as well, just to make sure that that's nice and consistent all the way around. Same goes for over here as well. Let's smooth these off either side too. And then here, yeah, we've got a little bit of flat land sticking out, so if we just draw that back further and then come in and carefully smooth around the edge, that's going to look a lot less kind of jarring and manufactured in that sense. And we can just smooth off this side, because we'll need to get a road access to it around the other side, of course, as well. Well, let's for now get these rail lines in, because they're definitely going to take priority over the road. We can put the road over or under as we see fit. We'll get those in, and yeah, it's looking actually reasonably nice and smooth, I think, there. So I think we're okay with that. Then we're just going to join up the rest of these tracks. So the way I like to do it is actually take the track from the furthest distance and connect that in first. I'm going to use the complex curve for this. So I'm going to choose that my first curve is going to be there. Second point is going to be in line with this one. And then we're going to go nice and smoothly into our rail line like that. And then if we go back to straight line, we can draw this one in. And it's all kind of connected nice and neatly. That's kind of my preferred method of doing it. So we have now got our rail yard in and connected it up with roads, electricity and sewage and water as well, because of course we're using a highway road here, which do not carry any of those things unless you upgrade them with the lights, which I haven't done in this case, but we probably will further down the line to sit nicely on a little bridge. I did a little bit of landscaping you would have seen around here just to help the start of that bridge sit in a little bit better. I thought that was quite a nice little thing to do, and it's so easy to use the terraforming tools now. You can just add in little features like that quite easily, I think. So let's actually just pause the game for a minute and get in our train station. So if we go to the contour lines, we do actually have this really nice little kind of like extra hilly bit in here, which I'd quite like to preserve, I think, for this area, and bring the train line maybe out around in front of it and up to the train station behind the high school up here. And then we'll connect it up with a little road, pedestrian paths and things like that, so it's easy for people to come right from the train station and walk down into the town if they want. And then of course later on we'll add in our bus routes as well once we've got this in. So I think all in all that's going to make for quite a nice little feature up on this hillside. Now we don't want to go too tall with this, so let's go to I think about this level. And we'll start carving out a nice big space for where our station can sit. And I don't mind going into this hill a little bit. We might reshape it, but we are going to honour it as part of the terrain for sure. So if we go for about that size, let's just grab our train station and see how big this is. So we do need it to get round that hill as well. That's the important thing. So I think if we plop it here, we should hopefully have enough room to kind of terraform out and around this, I'm hoping. So let's just grab our terrain tools. We're going to go to a really small brush size, and what I'm going to do is just kind of flow out of these train tracks and round this little hillside this side. I think if we can get the retaining wall on it as it comes around here, that would be quite a nice little touch indeed. So let's grab our train lines and try and get this in. This is going to be fairly tight coming out of here, so we might need to just flatten out a little bit more of the hillside, which we'll put back in once we've got our train tracks in, of course. So we're going to come directly out of this line here and we're going to curve it around the hillside. And then what I do want is I definitely want this retaining wall effect. So let's pull this up a little bit closer. Again, we can smooth this all out and make it look slightly less harsh once we've got this all in. And we've probably come a little bit too far with that. So let's just push that back a tiny bit. If we grab our train line now and we start kind of going around this hillside, yeah, you can see we are getting a retaining wall as we come around this corner here, which is exactly what we want. And we need to keep an eye on that slope to make sure it's not going up too much. So minus 0.2 is pretty flat, plus 0.1 in fact, there we go. So yeah, we have got the retaining wall on that. And we're going to keep bringing it around in this very slight curve. I don't mind it going up a little bit because yeah, we are starting to hit the slope from this point. So now that we've got that in, let's actually just grab the slope and slope this back to where we're bringing the train line in here. Get on our contour lines as well so we can actually see. Then we're going to bring this up and we're going to use the terrain here to kind of follow round some of these little lumps and bumps because there's quite a few lumps and bumps on this map ultimately. Now here I think we are going to have to do a little bit of slope tool just to get this in slightly less severe, but what we're aiming for is to connect up to the rail tracks over this side. So let's just kind of guide this through the hillside over here. And we're going to have to buy the extra tile as well, I have just realised. We'll bring that up and the game will tell us when the slope is too steep. We don't need to worry too much about overthinking any of the slope types. Let's actually buy these 3. Again, we've got so many permits for expansion that I'm not worried about that. And then we've got a good chance to get this in nice and smooth. Now again, this is kind of all on a slope, so we do need to bear that in mind. If we come up this way, are we going to get a nice smooth slope? Yeah, that's only plus 0.2, so that's not a severe slope at all. I think if we come up to there, and then we're just going to really smooth it. And you can see, you can kind of pull it along the track as well, which is just fantastic. I love how networks go together in this game. It really is immensely satisfying in comparison to what we had in CS1 for sure. And here we need to be a little bit wary because that is going into a bridge. So again, that's only plus 0.27, so I'm not too concerned with that. So we can bring out a nice curve in that direction and that'll feed them into the rail yard there as well, which is quite important. We need those trains to be able to get out. So if we just have a little look and check our track, I think it's gone in quite nicely, and then we can sort out this hillside. Oh gosh, no, that has absolutely not gone in nicely at all. So let's fix that. There we go. That's that's a lot better. And then we can get smooth tool here and smooth out some of our little mountain side. Now, if we make this a really small brush size, we should be able to sort of flatten out the top of this retaining wall without kind of eating into the mountain too much, which will just give us a much nicer look here ultimately. I think that's going to look pretty cool from down here, having the train running alongside this big retaining wall. Then we can continue on the tracks out this side and bridge over our highway, which should be possible based on the layers that we've got in here, but we'll come to that. And we're going to head the rail on over onto this island, probably another station in a development that we'll do over here, and head this round ultimately to where the main central largest town on our map will be over here. So now let's just connect in the road. So we're going to bring out a road right along the front here, and then let's get slope tool because we want to kind of curve this in nicely to our main highway road here. So we'll go like that. I think just a nice gentle curve, something like that will do absolutely fine. And then I would also like to try and get this one heading up onto this hillside, which could prove tricky. Now I'm thinking this road is going to run alongside the rail here. I want to smooth this up a little bit because I'd like it slightly below that train line, just so that when you're on the train, you're getting a really nice view down into the town here. And we're actually going to need a name for this town as well. Obviously, we're still to name the map, but it would be good to name our starting town as well. So get your suggestions into the comments below. I think we will connect it up something like this. Yeah, just so that train is above it. This is obviously now going up, so we do need to do a little bit of landscaping here to get this in perfectly. Yeah, so that is a lot better and a lot less bumpy. And then we can just use our smooth tool to get rid of some of this cliff texture along here. I don't mind a little bit in and amongst the train. I think that makes sense. It's kind of a man-made embankment after all. And then let's try and see if we can get this road up this hillside. Yeah, so something along those lines I'm quite happy with there. And I would quite like a pedestrian path coming down this slope. So let's see if we can go ahead and do that. And we will form a crossing right outside the station because I feel like that makes sense for sure. And then if we can do a little bit of a switchback curving down this hillside. So that's not too bad. That's a reasonably gentle slope and just gives us some kind of direct pedestrian access up into that train station. Now you can kind of see here what we're going for, minus the smokestack. Like this sort of tiered thing with the high school and the train station. We're going to have residential in front of it as well. I think it's going to look quite nice in the long run once it's all developed and fleshed out. And we're going to bring in some more low density housing around the back here as well and build up in and around the forest and around our little like extra hillside here, which I wish we had some park props or something like that to kind of make a little bit of a viewpoint, because I think that would be nice. It's eventually going to overlook the main downtown over this way. So I think it would be a nice view in the long run. So let's actually go ahead and get in our transport connections now. So I've just put in our intercity rail connection, so we'll get tourists coming into this station at least, and then obviously once we've fleshed out our internal rail network, that will become much more important for this town rather than the tourists. We'll probably delete out those intercity connections actually to this point. I don't think it's really needed for here. So before we get in buses, I do want to address some of the low density residential demand, so we're just going to continue building out our road network up on this slope and around the hillside and get some low density zoned in. Okay, so that has satisfied quite a bit of our residential demand. We can just take a look. It's pretty low. We have got a lot of commercial and industrial, and if we look at population, our unemployment is particularly high right now. So we definitely need more industry in, and I'm thinking this spot over here, because again, if we look at wind direction, it's heading on over that way. I think we could do a couple more little sort of smaller factory districts in this area. But before we do that, I definitely want to add in something on this little island, because if we go back to natural resources, we've got a really nice ore deposit right here. And I've also left these trees, which are quite mature, and we haven't got a forestry industry yet, so I think it's time to add that. So we're going to add in coal and forestry over here. So again, let's just go into our tiles, and we're going to unlock all 3 of those. I think we can do without that one for the moment. We've still got 13 permits, so you'll see, like, unlocking areas is not a problem. We've still got plenty more permits to head on over the map and build elsewhere if we want to, and of course we'll level up again and get even more at some point. Yeah, let's take a look out here, and we can fix this road now that we've unlocked those tiles, so that definitely doesn't need to come in quite as severe as that. If we go into the landscape, we have got quite a nice kind of level right about here, which I think we could sort of level off to bring our road round. But I don't want to really smooth out all of the terrain too much, so let's just smooth this up here, because I think that's not too severe that we can't draw around that. So I'm going to draw in our roads with our natural resources on. We're going to come straight out of here for start. Again, we can keep an eye on that percentage slope, so that is pretty flat coming out there, which is good. Coming out of our bridge, we don't want it too lumpy bumpy. Then we're going to kind of go round the edge of this ore deposit here, just so we can make the most of it. And then come out and down. So this is going down a little bit. Yeah, you'll see like these slopes are not too bad. And then we're coming up a bit here, actually, interestingly. So let's go back into terrain tools and actually just level off. If we level off here, we can see the kind of difference in terrain height that we're working with. Where does this meet the terrain? It does about there. I don't kind of mind having a bit of a sunken road here. I think it probably makes sense to flatten this out a little bit more towards the coast. So we've got, again, a bit of buildable land to use out here. Now, the forestry is non-pollutive, so we can actually put some residences reasonably close to it, and I don't think they get too annoyed, actually, from the coal either. The noise might be a bit of a problem here. That's something that we can kind of bear with and factor in and take a look at if we do put some more housing down this way. I think we'll be okay in the large part. Let's go back and grab our road again. And we're just going to swing it round the outside of these terrain lines here and through the little gap that we created. And it will come on out over onto this island and on this way as an alternative route to our highway as well when we're thinking about traffic. So if we come and take a look at that, that's pretty smooth. It does dip a bit here, but that's not a problem at all. So yeah, I'm quite happy with that one. So let's firstly look at coal. Now if we place this building over the actual resource, it actually takes away from it. So the resource is only dependent on the area that you're drawing out around it. And I also think quite a nice effect to this would actually be to have this building sitting almost in the middle of our alt area. So I'm going to place it in right there, and then we're going to draw our area out around it. I'm going to try and remember to leave space for a road out the front here, like this, and then we can go ahead and place in our road, and then we'll make it look a lot nicer, because what we do get from that is this building sitting in the middle of our deposit, which I really quite like. I think it adds a nice effect to it. Obviously it would be a little bit nicer if it was right in the middle, but that does take away from our natural resources. And oh my god, I do not know what the hell has happened here. And so yeah, we've absolutely definitely got a bug. We've got an absolutely massive ore mine sitting right on our Rockstar Mansion Island. I'm really hoping that terrain goes away if I bulldoze this. Goodness, it does. So we might get a bit of flooding, but the water should fix itself. That was bizarre, to say the least. So we don't seem to have got the massive crane this time, so that's a little bit better. Let's go ahead and smooth out this landscape as well, because that's going to look fairly jarring if we look at it quite closely. But again, now you can see that's really what I was going for here. I wanted this building to be essentially in the middle of our little coal mine here. So I think that looks quite nice from the sort of wider perspective. We need to get in a few more trees and a bit more detailing around it, but that will do for the moment. And then looking over at forestry, let's just draw in a little road that we can have as our entranceway going right into the middle of the forest here. I'll draw it across like that. And again, we're just going to draw it into a nice, interesting pattern around the roads here. So there we've got our forestry in, and actually the sort of forest floor effect looks quite nice with the autumnal trees, I think, here. So if we just give it a minute and have a look at our production chain. Yeah, we are making an absolutely massive surplus on coal at the moment, and a pretty decent surplus on forestry now here too. We've got tons of grain, tons of stone, which we put in last time, and just a little bit of surplus on the livestock farms. We do need vegetable farms, but I think we'll come on to that next time. We've got some nice patches of fertile land within some of the tiles that we've unlocked already, so we can definitely add it in there. But that's going to do for coal and forestry, and hopefully that will bring in a few more jobs. So yeah, we've got 61 employees here and 17 here. We go back and check our unemployment now. It has dropped to 15.7%, so it's not too bad at all. And you will notice as well, we've completely run out of high density demand with our one building in here. We've actually got no households in it as well at the moment. So I am actually just going to go into taxation, and we're going to drop this slightly. We're actually going to go right down to 1% for uneducated and poorly educated. But then I'm also going to crank these up a little bit, 14% for the more educated Sims. And also because we're still in the red, we're losing quite a lot of money, particularly with our rail in now. We're going to crank these up to, we're going to move them all up to 14% as well for commercial, industrial and office. We could even put them up a little bit more. We're tempted to put commercial up a little bit more and industrial. Let's encourage some offices to come in, so we'll keep that a bit lower. So yeah, let's keep it like that and then see how we do. It's going to help us a little bit, but these small changes, not that much. And there is also a bug at the moment in commercial tax. Like you'll see, we've definitely got food and convenience food commercial in our city, and we're not getting any taxes from it. So We've got textiles as well, so there's a little bit of a bug in some of the taxes. So at the moment it is very difficult to balance your budget and get into the green until those bugs are fixed. So let's just finish it off by doing a few little bus routes here, and I might amend them as we come on to do our industrial, which we'll do in the sort of, I'd say, detailing time lapse. There's not that much detailing really to do today, so it'll be a little bit of extra building time lapse just to finish off some of the areas that we've developed to make this hill a little bit nicer. But before we do that, let's get in the bus lines. So we have a choice between little bus stop sign and stop shelters. Now I definitely think for outside our train station we're going to want a shelter, so let's do that here, and I think it's nicer on the sort of greener side rather than next to the car park, so let's add in one. We'll add in one either side. I don't know if we'll use both of those at the moment, but we'll definitely want those there. So I'm thinking in terms of the routes, we're going to have one route that runs from the train station here down directly through the commercial, through this town, round the bottom of these residences and out to the industry out this side. And then we're going to have another one which probably comes from the top of this town through the high street on up here past the high school and then up around these residential here. So it won't cover the train station in this one, but it'll get pretty close to it if people do want to get onto that route. And we also need something that goes out to this industry too. So I am wondering if actually we start at the industry, come through this residential down the high street and up this side, then that would service everyone. So that's what we're going to do. So we'll start with the train one, which is going to come down here. I think we can add in a little extra stop. Let's just do a sign at the top of this hill here, and you can see like some of these bus stops go in huge. So we can kind of control that if we just put in a little bit like this. Let's get that and then get our bus stop sign. We can control it so the bus stop is just there. If we delete out this road, oh, it extends back. It's a little bit finicky like that. It's a bit of trial and error. We've got our stops in anyway. It's not the best mechanic ultimately. I almost missed the nodes. And we're going to stop down here. So I think we'll have a stop this side and this side as well. And that way people can actually walk fairly easily into the industry from here too. So it does connect them up there. And then yes, we're going to come down the main high street here. So we'll stop outside these commercial and the elementary school this side. And we'll stop a couple of blocks later over here, I think too. Let's go for this side and this side. And I'm not going to add in any bus lanes here. This is a small town. I don't think the bus traffic is going to be big enough to really warrant us doing that. So we'll convert back to signs for down here and add in, like we could do this little small section. So let's go ahead and do that here, which will give them some nice connectivity. And then we'll have another one. Let's do it on, yeah, see this one is dividing up. This one's not. Let's do it here. And that will give us a little stop in the middle there. Then we can finally do one down the end here, which will give these residences down the bottom a bit of connection. And then we'll come out to the industry. So I'm thinking we'll have one in the middle here, and then we'll have one out by the forestry. And that'll complete that loop. And then we just want to do the same for our other loop. So we're pretty well connected up with buses now, and let's just go into the line. I did crank the price up on the train tickets to $40. I think on buses we'll keep it at, let's do 10. Let's do 10 for now. Let's also change the colour of this so that it's not confusing us. We'll go for a yellow line here. And then let's also do the other line to $10 as well. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how much utilisation we get, but the town's pretty well covered for transport point of view now. We've got some high rent warnings coming in too. That's probably because I've raised up those taxes. Sorry everyone. We could look to drop some of these just a little bit. Let's go back down to 10%. We'll keep our residential tax nice and low and try and encourage people to live here and be able to afford their rent. Especially now we've just put in that transport service, which will help them level up, and then their rent will become more expensive. We'll get more tax from them. But there's a lot of implications obviously for that. So I think now it is just time to go into our, I'm going to call it a tidying up time lapse. We're just going to zone in a little bit more, do a little bit of tree placement and path placement here and there. Maybe add a couple of parks and do a bit more industry up here to satisfy some of that demand that has come down a bit actually. So I firstly have to apologise that I completely forgot to press record on most of this build. So let's go and see the bit that I definitely did not record, which was this little farm and industry area over here, which I'm actually really super duper pleased with. Like, we've got these little livestock farms in the front, which sit in quite nicely. Having small areas like this means there's slightly less buildings, although it's still pretty random, but I think it's a bit more tolerable when you're in smaller sizes than those huge large fields with random buildings in the middle of it. And we've got a little bit of industry over here, just one factory and a couple of much smaller industrial zones there with a secure car park around it, which I really quite like, this little complex. And then this has got to be my favourite thing, again, just a really tiny little stone mine, raising that landscape there to make it look like piles. And it looks awesome, like really liking that technique that we used over in the quarry in last episode, and just bring it into smaller little sections like this in amongst the industry. Loving that. And then again, another little factory area here. We've actually got two little coal storage areas back here, so you can tell what's a warehouse when you click on them, because you can see it says storage on it. This is colossal ore coal. And same here, so we've got a bit being stored in there, and yeah, you can actually see it filling up, which is pretty awesome, I think, indeed. And then again, we've got a couple of smaller industrial buildings around our main little factory there. the rail going over behind it, which I think sits in quite nicely. So I'm quite pleased with this little area over here. Then down by the station we just got a couple of little row houses, a little bit of shopping. Finally got the gas station that I like in with the shop at the back. Absolutely love this little asset here. As the textures all come in and out, wonderful. And the trains, yeah, flowing round our little retaining wall area are looking super cute as well. Really, really liking how that's sitting in. And everything's flowing pretty nicely. We don't have very many people using the stations. We obviously don't have enough to attract tourists. So we're still only on a population of 2,300. We're still not making money, but again, that tax glitch is making that very, very hard to do indeed. But we have got a lot more low density residential in for sure. So we've got this whole area back here, mixing in actually European with American style zoning, so we get a little bit more variation. So there's little areas of repetition that we can see like at the back over here. But in general, it doesn't look too repetitive. Again, trying to make a little bit here, but trying to make sure that we're doing different zone sizing certainly helps. I don't mind a bit of repetition. In certain circumstances it can be nice. But when it's so much, it does look a little bit strange indeed. And then we've got a bit more residential coming over this side. Just extended this on, yeah, around the networks here. So that's all looking pretty good. I did also add in a little shop in the industrial area as well over here, just to give the workers somewhere to go and buy their lunch in our original industrial district. And then over here we just added in a couple more small residential areas as well, which I would have done off camera. A couple of little parks and just a local shop again for the residents in this area to be serviced by, and then again just a small little residential district here. I'm hoping it's far enough away from the highway that noise won't affect them. I'm thinking this would probably be a little bit more of a low income area, so I don't mind these sort of smaller homes popping up here. The larger ones may be a little bit out of place. We might have to do a bit of rezoning to get that looking a little bit more appropriate, but it sits in nicely, and they do have a little playground as well to entertain them. And then of course the low density, I've zoned in a couple more blocks into here just to get that going, added a bit of commercial out the front here as well. If we take a little look at them, we have got people in all of them, and most of them are actually full as well, so they can definitely afford it. We've got modest wealth here too, comfortable, modest, so they're not saying wretched or anything like that. So they can definitely afford their homes with that 1% tax level on them. And then just taking a brief little look at public transit. Now, it's not working very efficiently, I won't lie. We've got 0% usage on our trains because we've got so few passengers. But to be honest, the trains was a bit of a hit. We're just laying it down so that we're planning for the future. I'm not expecting it to be particularly efficient right now. And it's only intercity lines, so yeah, I'm not too concerned about that. But the bus lines are really low usage as well, so I don't know how we can encourage people to use them a bit better. I'll have a look at the routes off camera and see which bits are busy and like which bits are picking up people. We have got people waiting and people utilising them, as you can see here. Like this bus has got 5 people on, we just had a few people getting off. So they are getting used, just not to any massive great extent. So please do keep those name suggestions for the city and for the name of this starter town that we're going to do in our county build on this map as well coming into the comments below. And yeah, I'll pick my favourites and put them to a poll so you guys can decide, and we'll name that next time. But for today, that is going to be it. So if you have enjoyed the episode, please do drop a like and a comment on the video. It really greatly helps. And I just want to say a massive thank you for helping me reach 25,000 subscribers today when I'm recording this. That is a milestone I literally never thought I would achieve, and I'm absolutely blown away by it. And if you're new to the channel, please do hit subscribe and we'll keep that number growing. Thank you so much to all of you. And while you wait for the next episode, please do check out one of the videos on screen. But that is all from me for today, so thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you again next time. Bye bye.